People think that agents are making millions of dollars and they're all driving around in Lamborghinis. I don't know, I tend to disagree with that. And if you're selling your own property, I see lots of significant issues with that. Welcome to The Real Deal, where we'll cut through the property noise. I'm Gary Brazenor, Byron Shire's go-to agent. Here you'll get real market insights and selling tips to help you make smarter decisions. Ready to go? Let's get real. Today my team's going to be sending me some viral real estate videos and I'm going to have a look at them and talk you through them.
Buying or selling a home is the third most stressful thing you do in life. It's death, divorce, and moving. And here's the question I'd want you to ask yourself when making a statement like that. Would you bury your own dead? Would you represent yourself in a divorce? Then why in the world would you think it's a good idea to represent yourself when buying or selling the largest asset you're ever going to own? Don't listen to the headlines. That's not a great idea. Not for you, not for anyone. From a liability perspective, from getting the best deal, whatever it is, hire a pro. That will always work out better for you.
So obviously that's an American version, which is generally you've got a buyer's agent and a selling agent. I act as a seller's agent or a vendor's agent, so I can only talk on that. But certainly if you're selling your own property, I see lots of significant issues with that. Just being at arm's length from the buyer, not creating that emotional connection with the buyer. This is a business transaction. I don't sell my own homes. I certainly don't sit in my open homes at my own property. I want to be at arm's length and I want one of my colleagues to deal directly and to take that emotion out of it. There's also lots of legal issues. If you're a weaker negotiator, it's a terrible thing to represent yourself. There's lots of buyers that will target private sellers, and these guys are good negotiators, and we're there to protect the seller's interest. We're there to get them the maximum money, and your wording, the way you present the property, the way you talk about the property's value based on recent sales and current listings is so important and so vital to ultimately getting the best price and to getting it in a timely fashion, just to make this transaction as simple as possible, because it can be the second most stressful thing behind divorce that you can do in your life. In my opinion, always choose an agent. Choose me.
Can you lower your commission?
Respectfully,
my commission is at 3.3%.
Come on, Dan.
Charging that on $10 million plus sales. I know that there's cheaper options. The question is, what do you get for that outcome? If you're talking to an agent that says yes to lowering commission, for me, if I'm in your shoes and I ask the question to the agent and they say, sure, I'll do it for 2.5 or 2.75, I would rule that agent out just based on their inability to defend their own position. This is the most important skill in real estate that you as a seller want to partner up with, is your agent's ability to defend your value and negotiate strongly on your behalf. And the proof of the pudding is their commission structure and how negotiable or non-negotiable they are. Someone who defends their position and their own bottom line will defend yours better. The person who gives away their own money straight away and says, yes, I'll do it for less, or comes in low, shows a lack of confidence in negotiation, a lack of ability. And if they're doing it for their own money, I can guarantee you the buyer's going to come and do the same thing, and they'll knock your price much quicker than they knock their own. So in my view, choose the agent that's going to give you the best net outcome. Yeah,
look, I tend to agree with it. There's a certain amount of money in any real estate deal. The commission is set at a level because that's actually what it costs to run a business and to run a company. People think that agents are making millions of dollars and they're all driving around in Lamborghinis. I can assure you that 80% of the agents are on minimum wage. I can assure you the top 20% of agents are doing 80% of the business, while the bottom 80% of the agents are doing 20% of the business. I definitely agree that holding your commission at a certain rate is fair and reasonable. Obviously there's situations, we've certainly helped people who are in need or who we felt that we needed to lower our commissions for, and we'll make a decision based on the circumstance. But generally, our rate is our rate, and we're there to defend that rate just as we are there to defend any seller's expectation on their price when we're representing them. So I do agree that choosing an agent that is a strong negotiator is vitally important. Choose me.
Do you trust real estate agents?
On a scale of what, 1 to 10? About as far as I can throw them.
Is that right?
Respectfully. I'm sure there's good ones. I've got friends that are, but it just depends on the person, just like anything.
Can you talk about your experience?
Look, I bought an investment in Para. Without getting into too much detail, there was just some stuff about the process I didn't really like.
I'm starting a new real estate agency.
Yep.
I am an agent myself.
Okay.
What advice have you got for me?
Have a chat, look them in the eye, keep it real, just like anything, and you'll get more business.
I appreciate that. Thanks so much.
Yeah, well, Agents do get a bad rap. In my experience in 25 years in real estate, majority have been very good to work with, very honest, very transparent. But of course, in this industry, they get a very bad rap, and there's a small amount of agents that probably contribute to that. But I also think there's a lot of different industries that get this. We don't trust, I know people say it to me all the time, the mechanic. They're worried that the mechanic's stitching them up. You know, a mechanic will run through a process to diagnose what's wrong with your car, and he's got to charge you for his hours. If that takes him 8 hours to diagnose it, he's got to charge you that. He's not trying to stitch you up. I hear about builders. You know, I had a builder telling me recently with the price of timber, hardwood timber these days, it cost him $50,000 to build a deck. People are looking at him thinking he's trying to rip them off. It's just what it costs. That is the reality. But I do think that agents get an extremely bad rap, and maybe it's deserved. Hopefully it's improving. Certainly, you know, in my experience, as I say, most people I've worked with have been great, and I try and keep it as transparent as possible. You can't please all the people all the time. You know, when you've got multiple buyers looking for a property and one of them or two of them or three of them miss out, no, there's only one property you can sell them, you know, sometimes they'll turn to the easiest person, which is generally me. But I've got broad shoulders and I'm happy to take it for you, so choose me. Just quickly, if you're thinking about selling but aren't sure what your home's worth, I've got you covered. I offer a free property strategy call to help you plan your next move with confidence. Check out my number in the show notes to learn more. Now, back to the episode.
Real estate commissions. What would I do as a commission scheme if I was selling my house? I would actually say to an agent when they came over, what do you reckon you'll get for me? Let's assume they said, we'll get you 1 million. I know real estate agents are often optimistic when they're trying to secure your business. So you know what I would say to them? You reckon you can get 1 million? I'm going to pay you a fee. I would go 1% up to 1 million. And then what I would do is I'd say, over 1 million, give me a bonus. Give me 10% over 1 million. Look at the reaction of the agent. Because if the agent is confident that they can get the $1 million, I'll say, I'll take that. But if they're not, they're going to want to muck around with your 1%.
I don't know, I tend to disagree with that in a lot of ways. I think you're listing a property, you've got your set fee, you're charging that set fee. I guess for me, ultimately getting the best result for my client is what I want, because when I get the best result for my sellers, I get more business, and that's the best thing for me. They tell their friends, Gary looked after me, he did the right thing, he got me the best price in the market. Maybe it doesn't even match what the seller's looking for at the time, but they know that I've given it my all to get them the best price. I don't really need an incentive on top of my wages to go to work. I can see what Tom's saying in that trying to find out if an agent's lying to them to try and buy the listing and get it on at a higher price. I get that, but it's not something I do in my business. I'm very driven by results to make people happy, to get them the result they want, and to continue to get business so I can continue to look after my family. So that's why you should choose me.
Here's some things I wouldn't do or wouldn't allow my realtor to do if I had a house for sale. Number one, I would not allow my realtor to enter my listing with any photos taken by a cell phone. No.
It's pretty obvious. Yeah, you wouldn't get photos of your house taken with a cell phone, not in this day and age. When I started in real estate 25 years ago, people were doing it, but didn't last long.
Number two, and this one's going to be weird, I would not allow my realtor to put a pending or under contract sign on my sign down by the road. Nope. Why, you say? A pending sign on a realtor sign down by the street is done for one reason only. It's your realtor bragging to everybody that they got your house under contract. It's a look how good I am sign.
I mean, she goes on about it quite a bit, but I tend to agree with the sentiment. I don't generally. I put a property as sold once it's sold. Quite often I'll put an under offer online. Sometimes even if I'm concerned that maybe the deal's not going to go ahead, I will put under offer on the listing in case there's anyone else out there who's seen the property and wants to step forward. There's an opportunity still for them too. But yeah, I certainly don't put a sold sticker on the board until the property's sold.
And as your listing agent, if somebody calls me about your house and we already have it under contract, of course I have to tell them that it's under contract, but I'm going to say, hey, we're under contract, but let's get you in as soon as possible to see it because we would love a backup offer. Backup offers are good. Why don't more people make backup offers? I don't understand.
I think a backup offer, what she's referring to, may be different in the States to us. When we've got an offer and acceptance, our office policy is We've got offer and acceptance. We've spoken to every other buyer in the market who's looking at this property and interested in this property. We've given them an opportunity. We've found that this is the best buyer for the property in the market now. We've accepted their offer. Our office policy is to move and give them an opportunity to move towards exchange of contracts. We don't mark the property as under contract or sold or under offer generally until the property is sold. So buyers can still approach us, and this is where sometimes gazumping can come into effect, where a buyer will approach you after you've accepted an offer and they've already seen the property and you're unaware that they were interested in the property, and they'll make you an offer, and gazumping can occur during that stage. So that's why it is good to always move as quickly as you can to get the contract exchanged if you are the buyer of the property. We don't go out of our way to gazump. It's not our decision if another offer comes in to gazump. It's always the owner's decision. But as I say, our office policy is to give that buyer the courtesy and the opportunity to exchange contracts, but that needs to be done in a timely manner as well, because we're not going to sit and wait for weeks or months. Certainly it's, in New South Wales, it can be a 7-day process to get the contract exchange, which is reasonable.
Do you want more proof that it's not immigrants but investment property hoarding that's causing Australia's housing crisis? Let me break down the numbers for you. Right now, roughly 10% of Australian housing sits vacant. That's about 1 million properties. About 700,000 of those vacant properties are legitimate, holiday homes, properties being renovated, sold between tenants, or seasonal accommodation, basically properties that are in transition. But the remaining 300,000, these are investment properties sitting completely empty, and this is the number that's been growing significantly. They're deliberately keeping properties off the market to push prices to ridiculous levels, all while being subsidised with your tax dollars. Here's the kicker. Right now, there are only 37,863 properties actually available to rent across Australia. That's the genuine market availability. If just 25% of those empty investment properties entered the market, we'd triple our available rental stock overnight. The average weekly rents would drop from roughly $627 to $485, and the median house price would fall from $1 million to $850,000.
I don't know that I can really comment on that. I'm not sure if it's true or not. The corporate Australians are creating the housing crisis by not renting their properties. In my experience, the majority of people will rent their properties. I know during the boom, Chinese were buying a lot of brand new apartments in Sydney and they weren't renting those. I've got no reason to not believe him. For me, immigration is likely playing a part in the housing crisis, as far as we're bringing in a certain amount of immigrants per year, but obviously that is only a small component of it. Our house, to build a house these days, is developers aren't looking to develop blocks because it just doesn't make sense to develop land at the moment because of the building costs, and the end product doesn't match the purchase price when they go to sell it. So you can't blame developers for not developing. But I think there's tax reasons, tax incentives that are driving it. I think there's immigration. I think there's building issues. I think it's a combination. And sure, partially, maybe this is partially to blame. I think older generations are sitting in bigger houses and not downsizing. There's no incentive for them to sell. I can see why they don't want to sell as well, because they're happy in their house. I think that housing will probably continue to go up and be used as a commodity rather than a shelter and an investment, and I don't necessarily think this is the best thing. Certainly it's not the best thing for everyone. So that was my reactions video. If you've got any other videos you would want to see me react to, then send them through and I'll see you in my next video. If you got value from today's episode, make sure to subscribe so you'll never miss property tips and market insights. For more support, check out the number in the show notes for a free strategy meeting. And don't forget to follow me on socials at Byron Lifestyle. Until then, see you at the next one.